Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hello, hello, hello. How are you all doing out there? Thank you so much for tuning in to another great, epic episode of Just My Opinion Reviews. Guys, we are here for the last episode, the season finale of Clipped episode 6, titled Keep Smiling. Donald isn't going to give it up that easy. No, he is not. And we're going to talk about it. Guys, if you did not know, this is going to be a spoiler filled recap. Me and my lovely guests are going to talk about this episode up, down, left, right, in, and out as if you've already seen it. So that is your warning. Was this the best episode? I don't know. How do you feel? How do we feel? We're going to get into it. Like I said, I got my guest right here, Miss Kimberly Curran from Southern California, not San Francisco, but Southern California.
Oh, dude.
How are you doing out there? Let the people know how you feeling. How you feeling?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I cannot believe summer is in full swing. Where does life get off having 4th of July in a couple days? Like, what is happening
Yeah. It's quite nuts. On a Thursday too, man. Why
on a
couldn't
Thursday? And before you know it, we're going to be seeing pumpkin spice everything in Target. So enjoy your summer now, everybody.
Yes. And it is hot. It is hot like hell. I'm doing the best that I can over here. But Kimberly, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. Guys, if you love what me and Miss Curran has to say, you can follow both of us on social media. Our handles are right there on the screen. Give us a follow, give us a subscribe. Her information is going to be in the description box of this video. And like always, bam, there she is right there. What's good, Kimberly? Give her a thumbs up, give her a subscription. If you're watching this on my channel, subscribe to her channel. If you're watching this on her channel, subscribe to my channel. Give us all the subscriptions. Kimberly, I can't, unless it was some type of Marvel show, I really can't remember, just a show having 6 episodes like this. And not that it needed more, because to be honest with you, I thought they wrapped things up with this show quite nicely with this final Keep Smiling episode. I kind of feel like it was this may be the longest one, right around 57 minutes. It wasn't jarring to me, but at one point I did feel like this was 2 episodes combined into one. Maybe the transition could have been smoother at one point, but it's not anything to where I just didn't enjoy myself or like, oh my gosh, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Because at one point, oh, Ripley is so beautiful.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. I was wondering myself. I was like, where is V? I think she
Yeah.
was in the trailer and she did not pop up until the very end of the episode. And I know in the episode 4 or 5, or really just throughout this whole season, all these recaps, me and you have discussed in length about how we feel about her. Do we feel sorry for her? Do we not? You gave us great dialogue exposition of you growing up and in the circles that you're in and how women like her. Specifically talking about the sex party that she went to. I can
No,
also,
I never done into something nothing like that.
no, I didn't mean it like that. That's not what I was trying to say. That you've known
I know people
that.
that have.
That's all I meant. I wasn't trying to be slick or anything. But one of the things I mean, I want to talk to you about the whole thing, and we are, of course. But first, give your general impressions of the episode. I enjoyed it. If I wasn't clear on that, I thought this was a very solid show, very solid episode. I think they did a great job. But give us your general impressions of the episode, and then we can talk about the whole season at the end of this recap review reaction. But one of the things that I was really curious on is, do you feel sorry for V? Actually, I know I asked you a question, and I'm going to go ahead and answer myself before even though I just asked you. I
Go
did.
for it, man.
I did feel uncomfortable when she was with a girl in the bar and they got physically assaulted. That really,
Oh my God, that was shocking.
because nobody deserves that.
No.
I was not expecting that at all, and so it may be a pretty obvious. Brandon, do you feel sorry for V, Kimberly? Well, of course, she just got beat on, and we can see the scars. But I was going to pose that question to you. I was thinking about it when I was watching the episode before that scene happened. When she's the court proceedings, etc. Really, you can just talk about whatever the hell you want. But how you feeling so far about this episode? Journal pressure.
Oh my God.
Let us have it.
Dude, I thought it was a really good wrap up. In terms of wrapping up a scandal that was bombastic and ridiculous and cartoonish, and one of those stories that it's so crazy it has to be true. One of
Right.
those stories where if I told you, you'd be like, no way, no way, that didn't happen. And lo and behold, here we are. I thought it was actually kind of a beautiful wrap up, and I know we'll get to it, but I love the way they ended a lot of the stories. In terms of V, I was like, wait, is she just gone? Because I was like, where is she?
Right.
Um, but I knew we'd get something from her, but it took a while for them to get back to her. But I this is how it goes. When you think you can this is how it goes. Like a lot of a lot of girls in that position, a lot of women that put themselves in that position, that's how it is. You get discarded. If you're not wifey, it's very rare. It's very, very rare that a man like that will divorce his wife for you. Oh,
Oh,
he'll tell you all day long that all you're waiting on are the papers to go through, honey. I just haven't filed, and they'll spin that, but it's very rare in these situations where you're dealing with a high power couple. She was in over her head. These people have their own games that they're playing with each other. They have this unhealthy back and forth, like her friend said, like, I thought you had Stockholm syndrome. Like, there's especially a couple that's been together for 60 years and they have a lot of money.
mm-hmm.
Don't you think for a second he's going to leave you?
Right.
And you're going to be left in the dust, especially if there's a scandal. Don't think, even with a recording, don't think that you've won. These people have been playing this evil, evil game for many, many years, honey. You're way in over your head. The way she behaved with her friend. You got one friend in the world and you're gonna treat her like that. And then you get all these Craigslist friends and you think you've made it. I mean, I felt sad for her. I felt more sad for her boys because I know we were talking about, hey, why did she adopt these kids in the first place? And we can only speculate. God bless them if they have a great relationship now. God bless them if she did save them, from the foster care system. But I'm not saying specifically that's what happened with her and those boys. But sometimes people treat kids in the foster system like pets.
Oh yeah.
I need them. I want to get these kids to make myself feel better. It's self-aggrandizing. I want to feel whole, not so much as I want to serve. I want to give. I want to take everything I've learned in life, I want to pass it on. But instead, I need to feel like I'm a mom. I need to feel like I'm doing something. I need to feel like I own something. So I'm going to adopt kids. And that's how I started feeling when I saw those poor boys like washing off the side of that trailer and when she was with her lawyer with her new bracelet on. And she's like, okay, boys, da, 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 da. And I'm like, it seems to me, you just like playing the role of mommy as if it's a role on TV.
Yeah.
You like playing the Girl Scout mom, the Boy Scout mom, like you see all the glamorous things about, just like she sees all the glamorous things about being like Kim Kardashian, but you're not her. You're acting like her. You're acting like all these people, but you don't have anything that's very real. And I felt bad for her because at the end of the day, I don't care how not black you think you are. The world sees you as black, and I thought that attack on them was just awful,
Yeah, it was.
awful,
Um,
just
I,
terrible.
it's about that. I wish I would have known what would have happened, to those men.
Oh
Uh,
my God.
it just cut away, and it's just like, dude, whether there be justice, whether you like V and Deja or not, it doesn't matter. They didn't deserve that at all. I don't know if I would have been able to keep my cool, people like that do exist in the world. We know that, that's obvious, and they will do and say things like that just to trigger you when they have their friend over in the corner with their camera up, and they didn't have a problem showing it in the first place. So you don't know what they're packing underneath their clothes as well, and they
Yeah,
can,
she could have got shot.
yeah, self-defense. So that was appalling.
Yes.
I did not like that as well. Um, Man, there's so much to talk about. You know, now let me stay there for a second. I was not expecting to see Deja pop up again either with the way that they ended their relationship last time. I thought that was it. And the funny thing is the level of the friendship, or maybe they just don't have anybody else to reach out to. She said that V said that she was sorry, and then she was like, "Would you still feel that way if you would have made it big? If Donald would have kept you, close, by?" And she just admitted, like, probably not. And that's just really wild to me.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you interpret it a different way, but them both kind of admitting to each other that their relationship is the foundation of it is just a stack of hay or built on sand at the beach or something like that. But they're okay with it. I don't. That is just really wild to me, and I'm just like, it's interesting. Let's look at the older couple. Somebody was basically being negative about my commentary on our episode 5, saying, "Brandon, you need to pay more attention. You and your sleeper cell agent comment about Shelly, talking to the commissioner and her lawyers and, what her ulterior motives was." And the friend, Justine, was kind of right, just saying, hey, you and Donald are made for each other. You brought up the comment, the Stockholm syndrome, and I wasn't surprised. I wasn't shocked, but well, maybe just a little bit, because Shelly, they are made for each other. Even if she's not going anywhere, you would think. I feel at this point that she was just really fronting on everybody. She never was going to leave Donald. Um, and whether she was there for the money or not, she just may have felt the same way, but just was smarter. Was smart enough not to let the public know. Uh,
Yeah.
when he was on Anderson Cooper, she was like, "Man, will you just shut up? This is stuff that we're supposed to say behind closed doors." And he's like, "AIDS, AIDS, AIDS," and it was crazy.
That was so
That
I couldn't believe I couldn't Brandon, that was unbelievable. And if you watch the real interview, that wasn't even the worst of it. Like he said so many he started out with I'm sorry," and ended with, "Well, he had AIDS and he slept with everyone." It was a media nightmare. Oh my god.
yeah, I gotta go.
Wow.
But how do you feel about Shelly? How do you feel about Justine and their relationship? And you can also comment on Deja as well if you want to, but mainly, Shelly and Justine. How you feeling about that little dynamic right there?
I was actually waiting for Justine to like buck up, lady. Like there comes a point where like it's only so long that you can make excuses for your friend. Like unless you have that relationship where you can be like, "Hey, blink twice if you're in danger." Like, blink twice if this man is holding you hostage, because it was really like she felt bad for her. Like, "Oh,
Yeah,
my friend, she's in this situation, but he must have some hold on her. I think she's just blind, and I think it's like Stockholm syndrome." And there are those situations where you feel for your friends sometimes and you think they're the victim, and then you don't want to see that side of them. You don't want to admit that that's who they are, or you just don't want to see it, or you want to be such a good friend. But Justine was like, "I'm finally going to say what's on my mind." And what I'm realizing is like, wow, you crazy.
right.
You are so crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
You and him are two peas in a pod. You deserve each other.
yeah, yeah,
Wow, you really aren't sick. At
yeah.
least not the way I thought. So
Right, right.
um I was just happy that Justine said something. But Shelly is I'm not surprised at the way that ended because I felt for her. There were so many times during the series where I felt for her. Especially when he was like, "Well, the prostitute, that's what you say to a prostitute when they make you hot and bothered. You say this and that." And she's just sitting there like, yes,
That's
you
crazy.
do.
Yeah.
I felt bad for her, like, wow, this man is really disrespecting you. But you know what? There are women all over the world who have been with someone. Because I really felt for her and thinking, you know what? It's hard when you've been with someone for years and years and years, and that's all you know. But there are strong women all over the world that got divorced after 50 years of abuse and narcissism, and they are living in a studio apartment by themselves, and they are figuring it out one day at a time because all they knew is, I can't stay with him anymore.
Yeah.
And kudos to those women. And Shelly makes me sick, but it's so OC, like it's so Beverly Hills. There's so many of those women that you think they're blind, but they're just a part of their own sickness.
Yeah.
And he and her together are, it's like Bobby and Whitney. You play a part in your own sickness
This is
of being in the coupling that you have is sick, but you play a part in it.
yeah, yeah.
That's how I feel about Shelly.
I had wishful thinking of what Justine would have done at that table, especially when Doc and his son came up and he dropped the food on the table. That was funny.
That was
Um,
hilarious. I heard your husband likes to eat people's food. Well, here you go. I love that.
it was dope as hell. I'm gonna come back to that too. But I don't know what happened in real life if they remained friends, if she endured. Because I wanted to say like I wish she would have just walked off, and like what, this is over with. Best of luck to you, but I can't do this anymore. But I mean, if that didn't happen in real life, that didn't happen in real life. So it would be best that they didn't put it in the show. But going back to Doc, they're enjoying their game. And it's kind of like when the waitress came over and was like, "Don't worry, sir, that's already been taken care of." It's kind of like he already knew who it was, or kind of had like a small list in his head. Like, I hope it's not, person A, B, or C with that slow turnaround. He's like, "God damn it." But he still went over there and said his piece. And like you said, that
So
was,
glad he did.
I'm a bit confused though, because they had the gentleman make the $2 billion offer. It was 1.8 and then 2 billion. Don was on his high horse, being an arrogant a-hole. He ended up owning the team, but per the dialogue from Lawrence Fishburne, Doc Rivers, it seemed like they still owned a portion or a stake of it. And I
Like
didn't get,
all these contingencies in the deal. Like you
yeah.
thought, and also that pisses me off. I didn't know all that because the chairman, was it Alex? Um, what was the chairman's name? The NBA chairman, he was like this, we're banning him from life. I'm sorry, but if they win a championship and you get 3 rings, that is not banning.
Yeah.
That's not a separation. You didn't cut it off. You did not amputate the relationship. You left a few strings hanging, if
Yeah.
you will. You left a few ligaments hanging on. I can't believe, I cannot believe they were able to have anything to do with them in any way, shape, or form still, which shows you just how screwed up the system is and how cowardly people are, and sneaky and maniacal, and oh gosh.
Yeah. And,
Oh,
and
I
the
hated to hear
DeAndre
that.
Green they did make the comment. I think it was either DeAndre or some of the players, like, they have these back end deals. He called that, but I forgot exactly what he said. But he called it and was like, we're going to make it seem like you sold the team, but you're still going to have access to XYZ. And that totally ended up happening. Um,
Yeah.
Also, it was really interesting. At one point, I really thought the relationship between Donald and Shelly was over with, whether it was on purpose or an accident, because she did, do the psych evaluation
Yep.
out that, he has Alzheimer's, and then used that against him. But they ended up staying together anyway. I mean, he was out there,
Yeah.
sunbathing nude, and she was like, yeah, that was a sight to see. Yeah, but he ended up suing her, You know, when he rode up, I mean, they were living in separate homes. And you know, he rode up in the taxi, tried to make her pay for the bill, and was like, "You're going to," and she had the voice. She was the doctor was playing the voicemail of Sterling cussing her out, like, "You release my medical records to the," which is super illegal. And I didn't even think about it to that time. So I was just like, I was shocked by the end of this. So what am I, you know, like,
God.
I just didn't know where the relationship was going because I mean, that was kind of shady on her part. Do you think you know,
It's a tit for tat. It's this War of the Roses kind of is what it reminded me of. It's those couples that really, really, really hurt each other,
mhm,
but it's part of their game. I think it's a form of masochism in a way of like, I'm gonna hurt you. Oh no, I'm really gonna slam your head in the wall. Oh,
yeah,
that turns me on. I have a bruise, but that turns me on. I think it's sick. I
funny.
think it's sick. It's sick.
Yeah,
That's just a different form of the same thing. They might as well be walking around in leather chaps. I mean, they to take your spouse to court is so. Can you imagine how hurtful that is to find out your husband's suing you? You're supposed to love, honor, and cherish, and you're gonna take me to court. But then here we are holding hands. Okay, Bobby and Whitney, like
yeah,
what they have is very sick, and it's this power play too of like, because in a way, I believe that Donald can't live without her. In a sick way, they can't live without each other, but they will hurt each other as if they can.
yeah. Good point.
Uh,
Good point.
it's so gross.
You know, I'm also really surprised how much he got. I keep saying surprised, but how much he got away with in this episode as well. You know, he was threatening people. You
Yeah.
know, you know, he said that he would. You know, the Shelley's lawyers like, well, no, Shelley had to say to her lawyer, he really doesn't know any hitman, but that could have been interpreted a number of ways. Last episode, you know, his tone of voice to V's attorney, you know, throwing salad and, you know, raising his voice. A lot of people, you know, just let things slide,
Mhm.
including Andy. You know, his excuse
Oh,
was
Andy. Oh, Andy.
he, you know, he's like, "All right, Doc, I'm out of here, man. It's been 30 years. You want to walk me downstairs? I don't want to go by myself looking ass." That's just kind of the vibe.
My like
Like, man,
nobody has time for your emotions,
yeah,
sir.
yeah.
Please.
Real
To the
quick,
left.
I'm sorry, my AC is out right now, so I'm doing the best I can. So I just turned this fan on. If you can hear it through the mic, I apologize, but I'm doing the best I can. But I love the way that Doc was like, "Hey, bro, you fired. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Get out of here. You're the one that was the yes man. You could have told Doc F you a long time ago, but you chose not to." And it was like, well, he ruined my confidence, and they think I'm a coward. And you are, bro. You was, you know, you was, I was gonna say something nasty, but I'm not. But you know, you was really serving him for decades on decades. And Kimberly, it was quite satisfying. The acting was great in this episode.
Yeah.
It was quite satisfied, that long, sad, pathetic face that he had, you know, this whole time of all this ass kissing that did not pay off. That did not pay off, you know.
Well, think about that, Brandon. That's a life. It's so funny he tried to come back with this psychobabble. Oh, he ruined my confidence. You're a grown man. The minute you know that your confidence is being ruined, the minute you know that someone is disrespecting you, I don't care if you hired me out of college. I'm a grown ass man. You are disrespecting me. I will not be treated this way. I will not work for someone like you. I've had to do that before. And trust me, it's better to be out of a job than working for an ass.
Yeah, yeah,
And you may have to sacrifice, but you know what? You'll bounce back. I've lived that.
yeah.
Okay. Don't you something I used to tell people when I was a wedding planner and when some brides, you know, I used to do very high-end weddings and some brides used to have a Donald Sterling complex. They think they own you, had a plantation mentality. And I would tell people it was in my contract that my self-respect and my peace of mind is not for sale.
Right.
So if you start encroaching on my peace, I can fire you. I can cut the contract 2 weeks before your wedding.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
had an out clause because I'm like my self-respect is not for sale. You don't get just because you paid me doesn't mean you get to treat me like a slave. That was over a million years ago.
Yeah.
So you don't have to work for a maniacal ass. That's a choice,
Yeah.
sir. That's not something you just found yourself in. And my blah, 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 my feeling, man,
Yeah.
miss me with that. And that's a Doc's attitude too. Was you can miss me with that. Bye.
He was not having it, man. I loved it. Just look, he just had his arms folded with kind of with the side eye, like, bitch, please. You know? It's like, it would have been better to be fired and you stood on business than be
Yep.
fired. You kiss butt. It's like, and he brought up Elgin and how people, you know what everybody said behind closed doors, even the people that agree with the lawsuit of, Donald's always been good to me, and even at that point, Doc still had a nice clapback comeback. I don't remember exactly what it said. It was perfect. So
His lines were whoever wrote for Lawrence Fishburne, whoever wrote Doc's character, they had to have had some wonderful resources of people that really spoke to like his character because I don't know anything about Doc Rivers, but from after this series, the way Lawrence Fishburne played him and just his no nonsense, no BS, um, telling it like it is, Chicago guy, don't just because I'm a millionaire, don't get it twisted kind of attitude. They wrote him very well. And I feel like I know this Doc Rivers somewhat.
yeah,
And I feel like whoever wrote him, because not all these true based on true stories have the exact people like, you know, meeting with the writers to tell you exactly what happened. But it seems like whoever the writers must have sat down with a lot of people that know him personally because I feel like I got the real essence of who Doc Rivers is. Like I really feel like that was very, very well written. Like it wasn't this fake, no nonsense guy. Like it was very, very, very real. I liked that.
on point, man.
Yeah.
And what I also just like about his character and the portrayal of it is his relationship with the players.
I
That's not.
love that. The hitting the hands.
I love that, man. That's not
Keep talking.
common across the board.
Uh,
Is okay. Shoot the ball, dribble the ball, do the play, do this, do that, and try to win, go team. But
yeah.
they really did care about each other. And that all in each other's personal space. I thought that was wonderful. I thought that was beautiful. And we've always talked about tone and the raising of your voice and inflection and all of that. But
Yeah.
right before one of the games, I think it was round one, game 5, when Doc Fishburne came in the locker room and the Green was in the ice tub. He said, "Hey man, what's going on? It's a few minutes before we tip off. You're gonna be out there, warm up. I'll be out there." And hey, Doc, I just can't get it out of my head seeing Donald Sterling on TV. Chris Paul came in there and said the same thing. And it went from just a nice, subtle, quiet conversation to Doc like yelling at him, but it was with love and passion. It's like, we got to get through this. No distractions. Coach is everywhere. What we're gonna do, block it out. Come on, we trained for this. And then he walked out of there. And they didn't feel disrespected or talked to like
That
they
was
were.
like a father, really, you getting the passion out. Sometimes I have it's like for those who are blessed to have parents and or grandparents, for those who are blessed to have people who love you in your life, there have been times where they've had to speak to you harshly, but you don't take offense because you know it's coming from love. I know my dad has had to call me out and other if you were on the other side of the door, you might think, "Oh man, he's really yelling at her." But I know my dad, and I know when I'm not doing my best, and he calls me out, and it's a passionate conversation. But I know he's not yelling at me or screaming at me. Whereas I could have another conversation with another relative, or like maybe one of my sisters. God bless you both. And it's like, no, that's a fight. like when somebody's trying to pull out the best in you and they've got to give it to you straight. And I feel like Doc is a great coach because in my eyes a great coach should be like an excellent father.
Mhm.
Like sometimes I got to take stuff from you so that you understand and you can appreciate what you're given. I think He's that father figure that a lot of times you hear athletes say, "I grew up without a father, but my coach, I look back 20 years later and my coach is still the number one father figure in my life." I think he's that kind of guy. So I love that. And also, much like a parent-child relationship, when he had the conversation with Chris in his office and his son was there.
That was the next thing I was gonna talk about.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Keep going, keep going.
um, he was like, it was kind of that thing where you look back and as a parent, you realize I tried my best at the time, but now looking back, I should have done more. I should have done this. I should have let them be mad. Like Chris said, you should have let us stay angry.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's one of those situations where nobody's really wrong.
Right. Oh,
You
of
you
course.
do you do see the best you can do, just like he said, if we had protested, we would have been right. If we had gone on the court with and turned our jerseys inside out, we would have been right. If we had gone out there and just went fist up, we
Yeah.
would have been right. If we had not showed up to the game, we would have been right. So I think I love that they could have that honest conversation where Chris could express his disappointment of like, I wish you would have just let us stay mad because look back at what Black people did when they were faced with adversity during sports. They became the first to do this, and yes, the Klan came after them and they got fined, but it was worth it because history. I like that they could have that honest conversation of like disappointment, but also respect of like,
Oh yeah.
look, I know you did your best, but I just wish you would have just let us not show up that day. What would have
True.
happened if we didn't show up?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
They and I mean, I think the right decision was made.
yeah,
Hindsight is 2020
always.
because he wouldn't have felt that way if they won the championship. And he admitted that. If we would have won, we would have stood up there and had the black fist up. But
Yeah.
the route that they chose only would have worked if they would have won.
Mhm.
If they would have just not played or boycotted, which other teams, wanted, would have assisted in, yeah, I mean, no way was wrong, but like you said, I agree. I love the fact that they was able to have that conversation together and, there was no mudsling or anything. They were just
Yeah,
expressing their emotions. And it's also just, it was so beautiful that the son was there too, like, and was able to see that. I don't think he was older than 6, you
I
know?
know.
That-
How
I
important is that? I mean, Brandon, I mean, you're a guy, you're a Black man. What is your thought on what I would love to hear your opinion of what Doc Rivers said to LeVar about I
I
can't believe he let his son see him cry and mad and disappointed. Like my kids have never even hardly barely seen me cry. Like, what's your opinion of that and how important it is for young kids to see their dad feel real emotion? Like, what did you think of that
Um,
statement?
Man, that touched me right here. I mean, my goodness gracious, because I've only seen my dad cry twice or show emotion twice. One of them, of course, is when his mother passed away at the funeral.
Me
So of
too. Yeah.
course your mom is gonna die. I mean, your mom's gonna die. Of course, you're gonna have emotion when your mom passes away. Another time was when I had a car accident in high school, and I was rushed to the hospital in the ambulance. So when we got home,
Oh my
uh,
god, I didn't know that happening.
he, all 4 of us, we got in a little circle, and my dad is not, I'm not gonna put his business out there, but he's just not really big on expressing his religious or spiritual beliefs. But at that time, he did let a little out, and I never saw him like that before. And I've never been one to like, man, I wish I've seen my dad cry, because I really haven't. So, not saying that you asked this question. For me, it's not important to see my dad cry per se, but it is important to let him know. I mean, for him to show us that showing emotion is important. I've never looked at him and just like, why is he being such a hard ass? Why doesn't he show emotion? Why does he do this? Why doesn't he do that? But I know as I get older, I understand the pressure of men, of head of the households, of provider, the amount of weight that's on their shoulders, and they have just this mindset that they have to be a rock, a pillar, or appear that way, to stay strong for, or to appear strong for the family. I mean, I see that, and I don't shame them or blame them for it at all. Um, I respect it wholeheartedly. But it is important to show your children emotion. Not have teach them that it's okay to cry, but not be a cry baby. Because I mean, we're all emotional, but especially as men, you have to have control over that issue. You can't let it take over. That would be tragic. But um I mean, Doc is a millennial and Chris Paul is my age, and they just kind of handle things differently. And I think both generations handle it the right way. I think the best solution is just to compare notes between them two, and amongst themselves, and all study their strengths and try to duplicate them, and also study the weaknesses, and okay, this is how I reacted and brought up my son, or taught them this or that, this was the outcome, and try to make adjustments for there. It was a very nice scene. I don't know if I answered your question or made any sense. I kind of just
No, absolutely.
start spewing stuff here,
No,
because
that's what I like about this show is that it went. I mean, for a show about a girl who wanted to be an influencer and taped a guy being racist, it's got a lot of heart.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's an understatement.
Yeah.
I love the scene again with LeVar, and Doc, about
Love it.
the amount of anger that they had. Him. I mean, I don't know how I feel about. I mean, I'm not mad at Doc for this, but he said he was in Florida, got the call that their house was burnt down. But he didn't want his children to see that. I don't. And he said that the neighbor ran into the house and got the gloves and the photo albums. That's interesting. And LeVar was like, "Man, I got my chains above my."
Yeah, that was I was like, wow. That was LeVar, his thing right there, like his speech or his part of the conversation, that hit me hard, Brandon. I was like, wow, because I mean, he's right. We all before it was butterfly in the sky, like before he was teaching us how to read, because that's where I learned how to read. Was reading Rainbow. Before that, he was Kunta Kinte, and everyone looks at him as the guy that the library man, the guy that is teaching us how to use our imagination. I thought it was so interesting, Brandon, the way he talked about understanding society's perception of him, but needing to keep the rage and accepting that he's still angry,
Yeah,
that he still has rage. Because I'm sorry, but the first thing I see is either Starship Enterprise or the butterfly. Like, I don't see the rage, I don't see the anger. But that's got to be interesting to play a character that was supposed to open people's eyes so much to slavery and racism. And at the time when Roots came out, a lot of people were moved. But then imagine the same guy turning on the TV and seeing what he's seeing and being like, "Damn, I was Kuta Kinte for what?" Like, But like, I just whoever wrote that scene, I loved it. But I also loved seeing just two men just be friends
hmm,
and be vulnerable and be open. And I really loved that it was just two friends being open. And I loved that it was two black men sharing.
yes.
I thought that was important to see because I feel like we don't see that on TV a lot.
Oh
I
no.
was thinking about just that scene alone and how you see, I mean, obviously TV is getting better, movies are getting better in terms of inclusivity and seeing black people in different lights. I mean, we saw this hit head on with Jeffrey Wright's film. Um, how help me out, Brandon? What was it called?
Jeffrey Wright's film, American.
Uh, American. Thank you. We saw that how we want to see black people doing more than just like crime and all that. And I thought to myself, when was the last time I saw a scene of two black men just talking about very intimate things in life? And
Mhm.
it's just platonic. And I'm like, I feel like I haven't really seen those scenes a whole lot. It's usually two black men talking about how, ooh, how are we gonna do this? And it's how it's written. It's what writers are allowing us to do. I love that the writers were like, let's just show two people being vulnerable, and
Mhm.
it's not romantic. There's nothing to, like I just love that scene so much because I feel like I don't see it a lot. And you guys be in the comments and let me know if you feel me, if you know what I'm talking about.
I definitely do. I love the scene. Like you said, you took the words right out of my mouth. It's like
They
you can.
weren't colluding about anything. They were
Yeah.
just talking about life.
It's like you're reading my mind. I'm just really glad they included the scene in there as well because why? Because what LeVar said is he didn't use the exact words undoubtedly, but he said that the white people are my friend. That see my frustration on the wall above my Emmys with my chains, but I expressed myself in a certain way, but I was definitely full of rage, and
Mm.
I that triggered me to talk to the other to want to talk to other generations that are older than me, not millennials, but boomers and all. Did I call DACA
You
millennial?
called him a millennial. Yeah, I was trying to count in my head before I
I'm,
said anything because I was like, minus the 7. Wait, that would
yeah,
make him a booner
my
times 2. I was trying to do the math.
golly, if you made it this far, I corrected myself. I feel like a doofus. A boomer. I'm a
There you
millennial.
go. There you
There,
go.
it makes me want to talk to that generation and compare notes about how they would express themselves or not when it comes to race.
Mhm.
Because the reason why I say that is a lot of black people still today we walk around on eggshells in front of white people. We don't want to offend them. We don't want to make them mad. We don't want to make them uncomfortable. We only want justice if we have their approval, or they're signing off on
Frustrating.
it. You know what I'm saying? And that can be really, really frustrating. And I know that generation dealt with that a lot. And so I want the conversation to be had just so they can honestly say, okay, this is what we did and it worked or it didn't work, you know, pick up where we left off. I was
Yeah.
thinking about all of that during that scene right there. And man, I feel so silly for calling him a millennial. They're like, what the fuck is the guy
That's
talking
just it's a compliment. It makes you think he's young.
about?
Yay.
Read the pinned comments. I wish I can go back and put a subtitle there, but I'm not going to do all of that. So anyway, we can move on from that. But towards the end of the episode, I do like that the players were satisfied and happy somewhat. They was on the bus. It was somewhat of a happy ending. They were going to some high school game at midnight or something. I don't know if they was watching the game or playing or something. I don't. That was kind of
I
confusing.
love that. They thought they were going to a strip club to celebrate, but it was somebody's idea. It seemed to like, let's go to the community. Let's go to the fans that stood with us. Let's not go see titties. Let's go be a part of the community and see what these young people are doing and encourage them. Just being a presence.
Yeah.
Instead of all the, oh, can I get a selfie? Like, let's like really actually interact. And I like that. I don't know if that happened or not, or if they just wrote in a nice story, but I like to think that it did because they kind of got screwed. Like they got screwed, but they did the best they could with what they had because that was a tough situation because you
Mhm.
had all eyes on you. And imagine, like, there's always trash talk in basketball, but imagine the paranoia of like, yeah, like people are always yelling because I'm on the opposite team, but now are they yelling because they think they own me? Because of what he said? Are there people that agree with him that are yelling at me now? Because now I feel owned. Now I don't just feel the competitiveness. Oh, you suck. It's like, yeah, let me shoot the shot. Now it's, oh, I suck. Do I suck because you think you own me? Do I suck? You know what I'm saying? Like this whole Donald Sterling thing added so much for them, and it was such a weight on their shoulders. Um, I really I felt for the Clippers during that time. Like this really made me feel for them because I think when it happened, all I thought was, oh, they must think this guy is so lame. They must think he's so stupid. Like, of course that pisses them off. But this show really helped me to see that brought tears. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I think I mentioned this before, Brandon, that it seems sometimes that when somebody's bigger than life, when they have money, when they have a hot husband or hot wife and cars, we tend to look at their life and go, "Oh, nothing hurts their feelings. They're rich.
Yeah.
Nothing gets them down because they're rich." And it's like, honestly, like it doesn't matter how much money you have. Hurt hurts, no matter who you are.
I love it. Good point. Good point. Um, what was I gonna say? Again, hopefully, the people that put their hands on V
Oh my God.
and and Deja got their ass beat.
Unbelievable.
I also wanted to say I'm still just kind of surprised that she got custody. She had to sell her Ferrari, not her Lamborghini or her expensive, luxury car. I just don't understand how that works. You know,
Well,
um,
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. I volunteered with foster care for almost 10 years, and it's the numbers that's the problem. Is that there are so many kids in the system and so few couples that are willing to adopt. Let alone you get okay. Now there's couples that won't take in kids, so you go into single parents. Like a guy that wants to help out and be a foster parent, just a girl. And honestly, Brandon, I had a girl in foster care and I was mentoring her, and her foster mom, the girl was like 16, her foster mom was 22.
what?
Do you know how that happens?
No.
Is you only need to be a foster parent. There's not a whole lot that needs to happen. I mean, you have to get certification, you have to go to classes, but you need to be, I believe you need to be 21 and you need to have a job, and you need to have a living residence where the child has their own home. You can't be in a studio apartment and be like, yeah, I want to have two boys. It's like, no, each kid needs their own room. But other than that, if you're not beating them or starving them, and even if you are, the system is so bad. There are kids being beaten and starved and abused. And there are literally judges, there are literally social workers like that are like, well, I didn't see it happen. So
Oh man.
Brandon, it is so easy. Like there's so few good homes. It doesn't take a whole lot to be a foster parent
That
because
makes sense.
the numbers are there's just so many kids and so few good homes. So they're like, if you're not on, this sounds dramatic, but based on what I've seen as a mentor and working in foster care as a volunteer, if you're not like committing crimes like right in front of their face or like totally being abusive, like they'll let you have a kid. It doesn't take a whole lot, which is sad.
Yeah.
Which is I've mentored some girls where I looked at their foster parent and I was older than the foster parent.
And
And
I don't
yeah.
mean to be like judgmental. It's just
No, I'm not judgmental, but the system.
yeah,
I've worked with kids where the kind of care they're getting, the kind of I'm like, how is this kid still in this house? This is a terrible situation. They're like, well, they're not beating them, and the kid needs a roof over their head. And I'm like, well,
that's
damn.
yeah, yeah. I was like, don't you gotta at least prove, a form of income? And when the person asked, she held up a hat. And that just didn't seem like I'm gonna sell hats. It just didn't seem that sustainable. And
But for the system, it was probably enough that she was an assistant and
no,
she had like a billionaire boss. Like, and it's like, it's not like a mortgage. Like, you don't have to show, that you have money in the bank. It's so loose, honestly. It's so
yeah.
loose, Brandon. And it's really sad because it pissed me off when I saw those kids going through that. And I'm like, here you are playing delusional. You're delusional. You're going around on skates with your visor playing with turtles and midnight. And how do you have these children need stability and your source of income is a man that has a plantation mentality? This is dysfunctional
Yeah.
at best.
I like when they was in court, I'm kind of skipping around. She was like, Donald isn't coming, but if he was here, he would have my side. But then he walks in there holding hands. I was like, ha ha. But yeah, I mean that also towards the end, she was sitting on the steps and they were texting each other. I wasn't expecting that either.
Did she go back to work? Am I to understand that she went back to work for him?
I couldn't wait to ask you about it. I couldn't wait.
I had to Google that. I need to Google that because what? But if you think about it, it's and when she got out of a car, I don't know, what was your first thought, Brandon? Was your first thought, oh, she went back to having a sugar daddy?
I thought I didn't know what to think. I didn't know if she went back to work for him because she signed off on the little gift saying I'm his assistant.
But she got out of a black Bentley.
I don't know. I was thinking, was she part of the con game too, or and what was the goal? I didn't know what to think. I was just like, I want to talk to Kimberly about it, but you know, it very who knows? I don't. So sue me. But I mean, I enjoyed the series. I enjoyed the show. Um, you know, and maybe there may have been a plot point or two that wasn't
Yeah.
ironed out for me completely, but I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I'm glad that FX Hulu made this. Keep making great shows. What are your final thoughts?
Final thoughts. This is why there's no story that's too crazy to be true. This is why you have to take everything with a grain of salt. Because again, someone could have told you, you could have been having a drink with a friend and heard this story through and through and thought, oh man, he ain't telling the truth, man. Ain't nobody roller skates, right? I'm your right arm, silly rabbit. That didn't happen, man. But lo and behold, my final thoughts are you got to decide who you are when stuff hits the fan. You got to really know who you are because this could happen to you or this something similar like could happen to you. Like I'm sure V like planned to be in some situation, but who would have thought that you'd be in this situation? And you've got to decide if you're ever in an Andy position or you're ever in a Doc Rivers position or a Chris Paul position. You have to decide: will I risk paying my rent, being able to do the things I want? Will I risk maybe having to go on unemployment to not have to work for somebody like this? You have to decide now, today, while everything is going good, while the checks are coming in, while everything's fine at work, you have to think of the worst and decide who you are as a human being. And when that time comes, you have to be willing to make that decision. Am I willing to protest in my own way and risk it all? Because that kind of character is what's going to turn you from being like Andy, you know, all, you know, it's that kind of characters, those kind of choices that are going to land you 30 years later making some BS excuse. Well, he just broke down my confidence. You need to look yourself in the mirror today, this week, July, and go, if my boss did this, if I heard my boss referring to someone as an N-word or this or that, am I willing to put it on the line for the right thing? Because what you choose to decide is who you're going to be. And if you're a young woman, ooh, Brandon, I want to say this so bad and I'm going to wrap this up. But if you're a young woman and you don't know what you want to do in life, you're a little bit lost, let me encourage you. The answer is not in a man that has money. The answer is not in being a liar. The answer is not in, you know, being a succubus off of someone else or chasing fame, chasing celebrity. You know what? If you got to work 2 jobs, that's fine. If you got to humble yourself and work the worst job until everything's temporary, man, it doesn't last. But don't be a freaking gold digger. Don't have respect for yourself. Don't be a gold digger. Don't be a kept man. I'm out here with OC cougars too. There's a lot of wealthy women where I live that have 25-year-old boyfriends. It's not just gold diggers, it's kept men as well. Be a better person. Don't be like this, because look how V ended up. If you think it's glitz and glam and you're going to be the other woman, the other man, do not interrupt somebody's marriage. It's none of your damn business. Have character. Integrity is who you are when nobody's looking. And so many people in this series had absolutely no integrity when the whole world was looking and they still didn't care.
Yes.
Be able to look yourself in the mirror and be proud of who you are. or else you're gonna end up in FX.
Yes.
That's all I gotta say.
I love you love so much passion and intensity. I love that.
Oh man.
You know, that's an interesting,
Final thoughts.
a female demon. You know, that's yeah. I agree with everything you said, ma'am. Well said. Also, just want to add on to that. You know, even though those assholes in the bar deserved it, if you're a woman, please don't run up on no dude because I don't want nothing to happen to you. Wait, do it if I'm there, if I'm with you, okay, then we can talk, crap together. You know what I'm saying? Because I can step in, but I don't want to see no woman get beat on. They don't deserve it at all. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is going to wrap it up for me and Kimberly's recap review reaction for Clipped. Episode 6 titled Keep Smiling. You got to keep smiling. You got to keep smiling. I really enjoyed myself. I enjoyed this show. But most importantly, I enjoyed doing it with you, Kimberly. Man, you're fantastic. You're wonderful. I mean, I will do whatever with you as far as the content is concerned for the end of time. Let us know what you got going on your lovely channel before we head out of here, ma'am.
Guys, I thank you so much, by the way, you guys are supporting and watching. I have a podcast coming. I'm very passionate about it. You'll be hearing more. I'll be putting out more ads because I need people to talk to, and I'll be talking to you. I have a podcast coming called The Film That Made Me ... And I want to talk to people who have been inspired by a film to change their life. You changed majors, you quit your job and changed your career. You went to Italy, you decided to start studying, cold cases because you were inspired by a film, you were inspired by someone's performance. A film changed your life. I think film is powerful. Storytelling is so powerful. And I want to talk to you about how stories have affected your life. Reach out to me. My email is whatisgoodkimberly@gmail.com. Find me on Instagram, DM me. I want to talk to you guys, and that's coming this fall. And Brandon, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. I absolutely loved going through Shogun with you. Clipped, this has been so much fun. I have had so much fun. Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to share this storytelling on FX and Hulu. It's been so much fun. Thank you.
You're welcome back anytime you want, ma'am. Anytime you want. Guys, on my channel, well, subscribe to her. Subscribe to me too. I got movie reviews. I got spoiler movie reviews. I got series reviews. I'm also watching The Mole right now, season 2. I have a weekly movie news roundup live show, a weekly superhero comic book live show. And, of course, I'll talk about shows that we're streaming like Clipped. I got some trailer reactions. These are segments from my live shows as well. A couple of interviews and a whole bunch of other random cool stuff as well. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, before we head out of here, don't forget that I'm B. Avery, that's Kimberly, and that's just our opinion. Peace out, and we'll see you next time.